Hello, everyone. My name is Rafal, and I would like to welcome everyone to my Headshot and Portrait Photography podcast. Today, I have a very special guest. Sissela Johansson is in the house. Um, you know what? We've spoke a little bit before we went live, and your work is just extraordinary.
Thank you.
I dive into your world, your images for the last couple days since we schedule the podcast, and I'm just so impressed because they just your images, your work expressing so much emotions that it's how can I say it? It's just extraordinary. And I want to say big thank you for accepting my invitation. I'm truly honored to talk to you and dive into your world. I definitely want to talk about your work, about your images, about your creative process. But the one thing what I want to point it out right from the get-go is the fact that you're not only amazing photographer, storyteller, but you also take amazing self-portraits. And we spoke a little bit about it. I want to dive into this whole self-portrait project because those images they really speak volumes, and they really send those type of messages which really touch your heart. So thank you for accepting the invitation. I can't wait. I have tons of questions for you, so just get ready because we're gonna dive in.
Okay. I'm ready. I mean, I'm an open book, so there is that.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's start. And this is the first question I usually ask. Please tell me a little bit your story. How did you get into photography in general? Because I know everyone has their own story. People doing all sorts of different things in their life, and all of a sudden they realize, okay, I want to be a photographer. So, what is your story? How did you pick up your camera? How did you start shooting? And also, my second part of the question is why portraits? Because that's something, because there's all sorts of different genres of photography, and I think shooting portraits is it takes a little bit more, and it's there's completely different set of skills you have to possess to take portraits of people. So let's dive into this.
How much time do you have?
I have all the time you need. We can talk for hours.
Okay, perfect. Because yeah, I'm a chatter. Well, so the camera got shoved in my hands. That's the shortest explanation that I have for what happened in my life. The long one is, I've always been a creative. I've always painted. I was
Mhm.
always frustrated that the portraits, because I always painted portraits. I was always frustrated that the things in my head didn't come out on canvas. And then when I was about 19, I started modeling
Mhm.
and I became friends with a photographer. We were kind of in the same circle of people. We frequented this heavy metal club in Copenhagen. And one day, he shoved his big Canon 5D Mark II in my hands and he said, "Take pictures." And I'm like, "What the? I'm going to break your camera. Why would you do that to me?" And he insisted. And I walked around and I took pictures that night at this club, at this club, and something happened. I've always been an outsider in so many ways, but having the camera in my hands put a distance between people where it was okay that I was observing them. It was okay that I was being a little like that I was the observer, that I was not heavily engaged with everyone, but I could see them. I was allowed to see them, and it became this way for me to interact with people in a completely different way. Like, I've always been incredibly socially awkward, believe it or not. So I think the camera taught me a lot about humanity. So that's kind of how that went. And I was modeling it more and more, but then eventually I had to choose between photography and modeling because you cannot give 110% to each of those. So I chose photography. And why portraits? I've always loved humans. I've always loved to get to know what it is that makes us tick. I studied, I have a bachelor's degree in religious studies, as part of understanding basic human philosophies. Well, not basic, but understanding humans, history, sociology, anthropology, philosophy, all these different things I wanted to know more about. And so when I became a full-time creative, humans were natural. I I have so much respect for landscape photographers and animal photographers and wedding photographers and all the other event photographers, because I find that incredibly difficult. But sitting with a human, a person, one on one, and having a conversation and connecting on that deep emotional level that I know will make the portrait even better, that to me is like, that's the space that makes my heart sing. Like, seeing how people react when they feel seen and accepted, and when you give them permission to be seen and take up space, that's like, that's crack to me.
So let's dive deeper into this. So tell me a little bit more, how you connect with people, especially when you shooting, because like I know, and this is also kind of based on my own experience, because like I'm introvert, so like I was always the same kind of, maybe not afraid of people, but I hate crowds, I hate big parties. Like I'm trying to, like, I love this one-on-one conversations where I can just like focus on someone. So that helped. But still, like, people who coming through the door and they want to work with us, we need to find this connection with them
Yes.
quickly, right? So what is your kind of recipe, or how you connect with your subject? Because if you don't have that connection, the session typically is done within 5 minutes, because there's nothing there, right? So we need to connect with them somehow. And people
Yes.
coming with all sorts of different problems, issues, own challenges. Their mind is usually probably all over the place, but we need to bring them to that space of ours, and then connect on much deeper level. So what is your, maybe not recipe, I don't think that's the right word, how you approach to those type of connections with people, especially those ones which you're working with?
It's a process. It's a long process, and it starts with social media. It
Hmm.
starts with how I show up myself,
Hmm.
because the people who hire me are attracted by how I put myself out there.
Hmm.
So already there, they know that I'm open and honest. They know that I'm authentic. They know that they have permission to be vulnerable with me, because I
Hmm.
tell the stories of all my vulnerable clients again and again and again. And I tell people, this is a safe place. We create a safe place.
Hmm.
And so that's the beginning of it. So by the time people reach out and we start the process, like, I start with a discovery call.
Hmm.
Get on the phone with them. Are we a good match? Like, do we like each other? Do we connect? Do like, can we relate? And when they decide to book with me, then I book a consultation with them. And so that consultation lasts an hour or so. And none of these times, like, yeah, sure, I have some loose idea of what we're going to talk about. Like, we need to talk a little bit about clothes and how they want to be photographed and all that good stuff. But ultimately, the most important thing for me is to get to know them and to ask questions and be curious about them. And that means that by the time that they come to me or I come to them, that's another part of it. I go to my clients quite often. I meet them in their homes for them to feel more relaxed. So by the time that the session starts, I'm just a friend, like, that happened to have a camera, and I've already been vulnerable with them. I've shown my own vulnerability, and in turn, they've shown theirs. And we've had the difficult conversations for a large part of the time. We've talked about what makes them insecure in front of the camera, why they want to be photographed in the first place. And often that leads to all these incredible conversations about image and self perception and confidence and stories. And I think the short answer to it is stay curious, and most importantly, treat the person in front of you like a human. Because in my experience, we as photographers tend to have this checklist going in our heads around, okay, I need to get this and this shot, and I need to use this and this backdrop with this and this light, and then we have this and this outfit, and we all go through the checklist because then I can sell more.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest when photographers come to learn from me, the first thing I tell them is leave your ego at the door. This is not about you. People don't come to you so you can be this magnificent artist. They come to you because they want to be seen by you. Mm-hmm. And to be seen, you need to leave your ego, because that has no place in this situation. You need to be curious, you need to listen, and you need to be present. And then you need to create this space where a person is allowed to show up for themselves. We're facilitators, and that is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. So let's kind of unpack this even more, because we're gonna dive deep into this. So my next question to you is, tell me a little bit more about your creative process, because you work the way I kind of look at it, which was also fascinating. Like, you can put people in a specific environment which kind of suits them, right? Like it's something that kind of works for the sending the message, sending their personality. There's the artistic vision behind it. Could you tell me about the process? So let's say, client comes in, you have good connection, you guys fit to work together. And so that's the first part, right? And then, there's this creative part kicks in where okay, I want to photograph you this way. Because, like you've done a lot of like work, I would say, like in different genres, which means like you do a studio, you do outdoors. Tell me a little bit about that process, like, how you decide, okay, this person, I'm gonna use that idea for you because I feel this is gonna work with you.
I mean, that actually comes back to what we just were talking about. Mm-hmm. When we start listening to people and we hear their unspoken needs and wants and desires, then it becomes quite easy to start pinpointing where they want to go. Mm-hmm. I obviously also ask questions like, what do you need this for? Is it for yourself? Is it for your business? What's the purpose behind these? So oftentimes people will say, well, I need it for business, but I also have this little thing for myself that I would love to do. And I always encourage people to find images that I created beforehand that inspire them, so that they're attracted to. And so when they show me this list of images, and I can see, oh, okay, yeah, they're attracted to this type of setup, to this kind of vibe. They want to be in studio. They want to keep it simple but powerful, emotional. Or, oh wait, we need to go on excursion. We need to go to a lake. I need to throw them in the water. I need to do this thing over here. That all depends on the feedback that I receive from them. But it all comes down to just staying curious about what it is that they want, asking questions, and then allowing this inner voice to kind of carry through, or it's intuition, I would say, at that point. Like there's a certain aspect of planning to it. There's the curiosity and the questions and all that stuff, but then there's also there's something going on here that I can't quite pinpoint, but this feels right. Mm-hmm. And I've experienced people, when I start speaking about what I'm experiencing and saying, hey, you know what, this came up when we were talking. I have this idea. I can see this image of you, let's say in the lake, in the forest, kind of Ophelia style, to kind of, like, that kind of ties in with the story that I'm hearing. And I've experienced people being like quite teared up about it because they're like, yeah, that's what I want. I was scared to ask for that. So you also have to have a level of audacity and assumptions, just a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So let's kind of, unpack something different, because this is what I'm going to lead towards, to your self portraits, but not yet. So tell me a little bit
Gotcha.
more about how your kind of personal experiences, because like we've talked a little bit. I don't want to go into like personal stuff, but we all go through some crazy stuff in our life, right? Which just molds us, shifts us, change us. We become like a different people. And I know those elements and those experiences also impacts us, the way we shoot, the way we work with people. And I can
Yeah.
also kind of share my own personal thing that like I had those sometimes bad days, and you go to corporate headshot sessions, and like even if you try and be positive, but just deep inside you just like thinking about other stuff. And then I go and see those images, and I notice, and I always see it, that my mood really kind of reflecting how those people kind of act, and how they mirroring your, I would say, not behavior, but your kind of like feelings on the shoot.
Yeah.
And as I said at the beginning, like your work speaks a lot of emotions. There's a lot of things which just kind of screams at you by even looking at those images. So tell me how your personal experiences, your personal feelings, your personal kind of like the way you are is impacting your sessions.
Mm. I try not to let my negative emotions impact too much, but oftentimes the conversations happen naturally.
Mm,
I try to be led by my clients more than anything. I want them to lead me and my emotions. So they actually give me a little bit of a reprieve from the things that I'm going through sometimes.
mhm,
So the emotions that you often are seeing are the emotions that the person and me and I are facilitating together. So
mhm,
it's a co-collaboration of emotions almost. But I will say there's things like I can see it in my editing, for example. Like the other day, I was looking at a session that I did last year in winter, and I realized that there were way more images that I needed to do from that session. It was more of a collaboration with this person this actor I've admired my entire life, and I was like, okay, wait, I'm not done with these images yet. There's more.
mhm.
So I went in there and I edited the new batch, and then I compared them to the ones that I edited last year, and I was like, holy shit, I was a little darker. What weren't I? I was like, wait a second, I know which mood I was in. So
Yeah,
I can see it in that way. I can see that I tend to be more dramatic when I'm going through shit myself.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
so
that's
so
my
that
whole
definitely
point,
carries over.
right? That's how this all my point, because I know, and then like I'm not saying photographers they don't talk about it, because they do, but it's as you said, it's a collaboration of two
Yeah.
parties, right? And then depends. So that might lead me to the next question: how you dealing with clients' emotions? Because that's another story, right? They bringing to the table also their own experiences, their own
Mm.
insecurities, and I think being on the other side of the camera is even harder, because then you exposing yourself to, I'm not saying to strange person, but to someone who's going to photograph you, and you
Yeah.
have to like basically take in control your I'm not going to say insecurities, but a lot of things which kind of hold you back, right?
Yeah.
And I've experienced that too with a lot of my clients. And then sometimes what was happening, that those sessions turn out into like a psychology sessions where they like crying and opening them up. I'm sure you've experienced that too, especially if you put them in a specific environment and they have to open up, and like you creating this specific mood. So tell me how you deal with that, because I know, and what I've seen through your work too. There's a lot of, and we're going to go into those images in a second. But how you as a person dealing with those type of situations where you can see this person, and there's a lot of there which they holding back, and then you have to somehow cope with this.
Oh, that's a big question.
It is.
And it's so funny you should ask that, because it's something that I think about it time and time again, because it's a huge part of the work that I do.
Mhm.
Um, I have been called a photo therapist more times than I can count.
Mhm.
I have in the US, a big part of my clients were therapists and coaches,
Hmm.
psychologists, that all left with something afterwards. So it's safe to say that I've had my fair share of client emotions, and I facilitated it. I have encouraged it. But there are certain things that over the year that, like, when I begin to feel I attract a specific type of people with a specific type of emotion. Usually, um, like in the beginning, I would attract a lot of people who had a lot of hurt when it comes to how they look, self acceptance, self love, and I was happy to take that on for a long time until I realized it was affecting me too much. Because when you've seen the most beautiful person, both inside and out, be so upset with the images, not because of anything that I did, but because they're not able to see themselves, and see them walk away a few times, that's hard. And again, I don't take it personal, because it's not about my work. It's about this hurt this person is going through. And fact of the matter is, I'm not a psychologist. I don't have the training. So I don't believe that it's responsible for me to go too deep. But I will say, the person that I am, the human that I am, also invites these conversations. So I use a lot of words on my website, social media, things like that, to make sure that the people that I attract are robust. It's very important for me that and in the discovery call as well, I screen for a certain level of robustness, mental robustness. Is that even a word? Um, so by the time that they sit in front of me and I facilitate this space, because I encourage vulnerability. I want that vulnerability. I want them to release themselves in front of the camera. And being in front of the camera is scary as fuck. I'm like, I want all photographers to be in front of the camera at some point, because so many of us forget how it feels like.
It's
Um,
horrifying.
it is horrifying. Yeah, I've worked professionally as a model since I was 19 years old. I still get terrified. Um, but the way that I deal with it is setting very firm boundaries around myself, of what I take personal and not,
Hmm.
of what I allow where I allow the conversation to go. There is a certain level of control that I have to force through. Um, because if I just let it flow, then within a very short amount of time, I'll have a client that is an absolute puddle on the floor, and I don't have the capabilities to pull them back up. So
Hmm.
it's this constant, like, holding them and having space for them, making sure that they're supported, but also making sure that they don't fall. Like, yeah, I think sometimes as portrait photographers, we forget how much responsibility we have, because we're sitting with a whole human in front of us, and we have the power to squash that whole human, because they feel so vulnerable being in front of our cameras. Like, they are exposing themselves to us, and if we don't take that responsibility seriously, we can do quite a bit of damage. I've tried multiple times, a client coming to me and saying, "Hey, Sissela, I've had this experience with another photographer, and I'm terrified of doing this again." Like, I don't know if that answered the question, because my brain just went on a tangent. But I think the short answer is, take the responsibility seriously. I think
Hmm.
that's what I do. Create the space, make sure that you don't go beyond your knowledge, your skill set, and be compassionate and human.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, listen.
Yeah. So let's take off another layer of this. There's one thing what I want to say, and it's not like I'm saying I don't agree with you, but what I'm trying to say, that I deeply believe that we are therapists, and I know we're not psychologists per se, but we crack some people open,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
with their insecurities, with whatever is happening in their life. And I've experienced that, countless time where, like I
Mm.
just met someone and 20 minutes within in this shoot, and the person is crying because they're going for like divorce or something like that. And, like that they doing this just to kind of like expose themselves to.
Connect.
Exactly. So I deeply believe that, we play kind of like the role of someone who, has to boost these people, or I don't know, bring more confidence to them, and, make them look at themselves from different perspective. And I also, I want to
Yes.
point it out, I've experienced that too, that I had situation in my career where, I did the photo shoot and everything turned out, like, in my opinion, great.
Yeah.
And the person's like, oh, I hate those pictures, right? And I'm just like, okay, there's, everything is kind of like it's there, like there's nothing missing. But what I haven't seen was the kind of the struggle they're going through, and they just saw
Yeah.
themselves not as a person, but the struggles they're going through. And they admit it. Some people, I have to say, that they kind of say, hey, you know what, it's not about you, it's about my life. And, when I saw myself, it's just like, just basically break me. So I know exactly what you're saying. So my question to you is, do you think that photography could be a form of therapy for people, where people come into you to somehow kind of like get into their inner side, inner kind of like soul, where they can kind of see themselves from different perspective, and could be a
Absolutely.
healing.
Oh
Go
yeah.
on.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
100%.
Hmm.
Photography, art has the ability to heal. So
Hmm.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't allow people to come in and do it for these reasons and go through these
Hmm.
experiences. I'm just saying that we should be responsible enough
Responsible.
to acknowledge our the power that we're holding in that moment.
Hmm.
And the fact of the matter is that we, as regular humans without a full psychology degree, can only do so much and should only do so much. That's basically what I'm saying, is that we should make sure to hold a certain amount of boundaries, because we can do more damage if we aren't
Hmm.
aware of that. Now, that being said, photography and being in front of the camera have the power to transform one's inner core. Like, I've had clients come to me and say, Sissela, I'm going through something. I'm going through this transition, and I'm not entirely sure what's going on. I'm not entirely sure how I want to be photographed. And then I'm like, okay, do you just want to flow? And they're like, yeah, let's do that. And so on the day of the session, we haven't planned anything. Yeah, bring some clothes that you like, but
Hmm.
like, let's flow. Let's see where this takes us. And that often creates the most amazing images. And the
Hmm.
people that allow that type of session to take place are the ones that gets the most out of it, because
Hmm.
they have already released expectations of what's going to happen. So they're just raw and open to this experience of being seen and seeing themselves in different lights and seeing themselves through my eyes, which is really fun sometimes.
Hmm.
So yeah, absolutely, it has that power, and it can be therapeutic. It just cannot be considered a full-on like proper therapy session for deeper
Hmm.
rooted issues, because we should be responsible and hold awareness around that.
Hmm.
um, but like, seeing, I wouldn't even call it self-love, I would call it self-acceptance. Seeing people accept themselves as they are in that
Hmm.
moment, that's everything. Like, I've for the longest time, my I started out with my business in the US having like hair and makeup, and it was this whole experience. It's kind of glamorous, and it was very the words that I was using was around luxury and glamour and pamper and all these delicious words. um but oftentimes what I heard from my clients were, that's beautiful, but I don't recognize myself.
Yeah.
And so enough times I heard this, I was like, okay, something is up. I
Something's
need to
there. Yeah.
change something. Yeah. And oftentimes it was the makeup. They were, and there was just too much of it. They didn't. Many of the people attracted to my work rarely wears a lot of makeup, so I started hiring makeup artists that had mastered the skincare,
Mm-hmm.
the base of it, instead of mattifying everything and big lashes and all these different things. I was like, okay, let's just power it down. And so that again became this kind of um, exercise in being seen for my clients, because that was also difficult. They had this idea of how they thought they were going to look like, and then how they turned out. And but the less makeup ended up being the thing that really really made my work stand out,
Mm-hmm.
and why people come to me.
Yeah. So you touched two things which really hit me right now, and I want to kind of like poke on it a little bit more.
Poke away.
One of them is, and this is something what I, again, like I have experienced that, and that's something which really, like, I don't know, just like my brain is on fire right now. But what I'm trying
Good.
to say is, when you said about this, like this flow state, that
Mm.
you don't prepare, you just kind of like, okay, let's go with it, like whatever feels right, we're gonna do it. Don't you think that's, well, and again, it's just kind of hard to guess sometimes, right? Because there's different people, they have different approach to things, they have different personalities, and some people like to be prepared, like they want to like put, I don't know, the clothing, the makeup, the style, the idea, the concept, everything has to be kind of like, in order to, this is, I want to kind of go for this. But again, I've experienced that, those sessions which were not planned, they were just like, go with the flow, just like whatever comes to our heads, whatever, whatever happens. And those
Yeah.
sessions were the most successful. And don't you think, like, and again, this is like come also back to the way we think, because if we start preparing too much, you just overthink things, you try to make everything perfect, you try to, like, pinpoint every element to make it perfect. But I think sometimes photography is not about its perfection, it's about its imperfection, which just kind of makes something unique and very special. So, like, how you navigate through that, like, it depends on the client, or it depends how you feel, how that kind of unfolds in your work.
Well, I kind of already answered it in the sense that
Hmm.
it's not about me.
Hmm.
So I tailor each of my session to fit the individual client.
Yeah, but you're
I
still in
tune
the
in.
driver's seat, right? Like, you
Oh yeah, of
still.
course. I mean, yeah, I have to. I'm the one in control. Um, I have to be. I can't let them take control, because I'm the one doing the job that they're hiring me to do,
Mhm.
and it comes with a certain level of like, the only way that I can do these things, because I have such a strong backbone of knowledge on lighting, and like I can pivot if there's something that doesn't work. I can pivot in an instant. So I'm never scared of a situation. Like, unless there's a total power outage and there's no light, and the only light that I have available is constant, then that's a problem. But then I'll figure something out, because I always do.
Mhm.
Um, but when it comes to tailoring sessions, because that's part of taking charge for me. Like, I tailor the session to fit the individual. And so early on in the discovery call, already there, I get the feeling of what type of person they are. Are they a little bit of a type A?
Mhm.
If they are, then I know that I'm in for okay, this is what's going to happen, and we're going to do so and so many looks, and we're going to do this and this and this. And usually they're the one who wants studio portraits, which is fun. But I will also say that words matter. And so the words that we put out in our marketing matter a lot to attract the type of clients that we get. So, and the work that we put out. So the people who are attracted to the work that I do are rarely type A's. They are people who are creatives and dreamers, and they want to be in a fairy tale. So they are already embracing the idea of releasing both expectations and control. Um, so, and I've over the years, I've changed my wordings and my marketing to attract those kind of people,
Mhm.
because I want to make sure that I have those people. I love working with them. I love working with the others as well, but I know that I can do the best work possible when I'm with the right type of client for me.
Mhm.
Um, so there's a little bit of like there's multitudes to it that kind of creates the situation, the whole. But the flow state, that happens when you release control and you have the backbone of knowledge to back it
Mhm.
up if something changes. But I also always make sure to get the thing that my clients need. Like, oh,
Mhm.
I need an author headshot, or I need this for my website. I'm like, cool, let's do this first, and
Yeah.
then we play afterwards. So again, it comes down to listening.
Mhm.
It comes down to words. It comes down to how we hold space for people and attraction.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting you said about those words. It's yesterday,
Words matter.
funny enough, I actually post like a little quote. I love quotes and just kind of like, I don't know, get you thinking. And I said that the words we say, they create the house or home we will live in. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, that's really kind of says exactly what you're just saying. This is the words
Yes.
really create this reality we are around it. Okay, so let's switch the gears.
We went deep. I love this. Ooh.
So now we go even deeper. Just
Oh,
hold on, buckle your seats. I want to talk right now about you and your self portraits.
oh shit.
Well, that's going to be a tough one. I was waiting for the right moment to kind of get you ready for that. As I said at the
Warm me
beginning,
up.
your self portraits are amazing, and I'm gonna just bring them up if that's okay. So I actually screenshotted some of your self portraits, and I want to kind of go into some of those images and talk a little bit about the bigger story, because images, as we spoke, they're like end of product. Sometimes people, especially nowadays, they just scroll through things and they don't really think much. They just look at it. If they get feeling, it's great. If they're not going to get feeling, they move on to the next one. But I was really kind of trying to look at your work, and especially those self portraits really touched me. And I want to bring them up. I want to kind of hear a little bit bigger story. What brought you to that kind of session or that kind of idea? If there is any bigger story behind it, um, for people who are watching and people going to be watching later on, I want to say that some of those images, they're extremely emotional. They're really touching.
Viewer warning.
Exactly. Just so
Discretion.
you know, get some Kleenex, and take your time and
I don't
kind
have
of
any.
digest those images. Okay, so let me bring them up.
Now
Um,
I'm nervous, dude. I'm like, what are you pulling up here? What have I done? What have I exposed myself
you've
to?
done amazing work.
Oh,
That's
thank
what
you.
it is. So
Ah.
I have some images. So tell me a little bigger story. I know they're really mystic. There's a lot of amazing face expressions. Like, why don't we start with like, are you doing them by yourself, or you have some help, or how the process look like? I wanted this because I know doing self portraits, it's way more complex settings, and I know bringing you to that kind of mental state also is kind of hard. And I just want to know if this is kind of like inner world, you kind of jumping in and you just creating those images, or you getting involved, somebody who's helping you out. Tell me a little bit about the kind of, maybe not the technicalities, but more about like how you get into this kind of creating some of those stuff.
Well, first of all, I colors are off. So go see them on my socials or
Okay.
on my website afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm very much into rich colors and things like that. But it's so funny that that's the image that you should pull up first. That is from my first self portrait session,
Hmm.
proper self portrait session. Um, and it was in 2020, and it was COVID, and it was lockdown, and I couldn't see my family, and my marriage was not doing its best at the time.
Hmm.
Um, and I think I just needed a an outlet, and self portrait became my outlet. I had multiple self portrait sessions during 2020, and that one is one of my favorites, all-time favorites. Because I kind of there's this level of almost apathy in it that I just remember so vividly. And it's taken with a single light, constant light, like one of those cheap 4 light bulbs,
Mhm.
softbox from Amazon thing. Done a lot of work with those. And it was just me, and it was learning how to do self portraits alone. All of my self portraits I've done alone,
Mhm.
um, privately, because there is a certain level of um, it's very vulnerable being seen. I don't mind putting the images out there, but in that
Mhm.
moment, I don't want interruption because I'm very much in my process and in my mind and in my emotions. So I love that one. I'm so happy you pulled that one up, especially because it was the beginning of my journey.
Yeah, well, it's yeah. I think all your images are spectacular, but I think there's some of them which really tells. Um, I don't want to say bigger story, but the emotions are just pouring out. Like it's just you feel it from them, and that's what really strike me a lot. Okay, so let's go to those very emotional ones. Is that okay?
Oh
I
shit.
know there's series
Yeah,
of
yeah,
them.
yeah. Go there, go there. I knew you were
So
gonna pull them up. So you started talking about like very heavy emotion. I was like, yeah, I know where you're going.
yeah.
Um, same setup.
Hmm.
Um, and this was about 6 months later,
Hmm.
and I was separated, about to get divorced, and my entire world was breaking,
Hmm.
and I felt like I was dying. Like I wasn't sure how I was gonna live. It wasn't necessarily like dying, but it was more this how will I live?
Hmm.
Because everything that I'd built up until that point had been with him and in the US and my business, and it was just my entire life was just shifting and changing, and my heart was breaking. Like, and I don't know why I ended up documenting it. I think there was like part of me, the documentarist in me, that
Hmm.
needed this memory, of that pain. And then I was like, I need to put it out there because there are other people who go through pain, and they need to know that they can go through pain and it's okay, and that it's natural, and it sucks, but it's gonna be okay. Um, and I've always been a little bit of a self-flagellant when it comes to these things. I always tend to kind of embrace pain a little bit to the extreme sometimes. Um, but yeah, I
So
still love
I
it.
so I have a question. I don't know if this is the right question. If you don't want to answer, you don't have to. So because I think that the whole thing is just not only images, but it's also this whole experience for you. So
Mhm.
at that moment where you took that shot, you going through this pain, for those emotions, for this heartbreak, like it seemed like everything is just falling apart in you. um so whenever you look at those images, do you feel exactly the same? If those images bring you those feelings back, or they kind of help you to heal, like, you know what, I've kind of like I've done it, I exposed my emotions, but now I'm in a kind of different place. And I also, like, as you said, they were done quite some time. So every time when you go back and you're looking at them, do they open the wounds, or are they helping you to heal?
Well, I'll tell you this much. It's the first time I've looked at them for longer than 10 seconds.
Hmm.
So, in that time, like besides when I was editing them, but since then, and seeing it now, I mean, I can feel it. Like I can feel it in my nose. This every time I'm like on the verge of tears, then that sits in my nose. So I can feel it. I feel the pain so intensely. But I'm also removed from it in a way, because I see the pain that I was going through at that point in my life, and I have so much love for that Sissela,
Hmm.
that time, that person that I was at that point, because she had no idea what was going to happen, and she had no idea that everything was going to be so beautiful, difficult, but beautiful.
Mm.
So I feel the pain and I want to cry when I see it. I am happy that I have it because I want to remember. I need that reminder sometimes. But at the same time, I'm also just filled to the brim with love when I see it
Mm.
because of everything that have happened since, and just how my life turned out after that was
Mhm.
has been like unreal. Like that gets me.
Mm.
um yeah, no, it's like, and it's a great reminder that every time I go through something difficult, I've had this period of time recently that's been difficult, not that difficult, but
Mhm.
it also reminds me that most things
Mhm.
are not that difficult.
Yeah.
um but yeah, no, I'm just reminded that there's always another side.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So you were like therapist for yourself,
Yeah,
and for imagery. But
yeah,
I think
I
it's
couldn't
something.
afford one at the time.
Well, and they keep you for life. If you go once, yeah, I've tried that, and that wasn't kind
Yeah,
of good way. There's other ways to kind of help yourself and heal yourself. But time is
yeah,
one of those things which definitely helps to kind of heal every wound for sure. But I think
for
one
sure.
thing would kind of like strike me when you were talking about it is that with the time when you look at it, right now, like you remember yourself who you were at that time, but now you're a
Mm,
different person. And I think that's amazing kind of, I don't know, healing process. You've
yeah,
seen this entire kind of path you went through where you were like in the different spot right now, but you remember, okay, that's where I was. And I think that's a great reminder for everybody who's going through like some difficulties in their life. The time will heal everything. And I think you just recorded this. That's where I was. That's pretty amazing.
yeah. It's, I mean, again, I'm tearing up and as I'm seeing it. But like it, and I wouldn't say that I'm fully healed from everything because healing is not linear. And
Yeah, no, no,
sometimes, like in this
100%.
society, we kind of strive towards being fully healed, and there's no such
No.
thing. And
Well, the
that's also
scar
important to
stays for
remember.
life, right? There's a
Yeah.
reminder that this is something we've gone through, and I think, yeah, I
Yeah,
agree with you
exactly.
that there's no full healing from certain things in our life for sure.
And
Okay,
there's a
so
beauty
let's.
in that.
Sorry.
There's a beauty in that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so let's move on to confidence.
Next one. Well, that's so funny. I mean, again, I'm so fascinated with which images you pulled because, like, that one was of October or November, no, October 2023. I left the US 2 months later.
Mhm.
This was the very end of my time in that studio. I've only had it for a short amount of time. I'd been working from home or from other people's houses up until that point. So I was leaving the US at that point. And this was the beginning of this next stage that I'm currently in. I didn't know what was going to happen. I knew that I was going to have an identity crisis, but I didn't know to which extent.
Okay.
um, and I like, I don't even remember why I did these. I think it was also like I'm gonna document this. I'm gonna document this time in my life. I think it was like one of the last days in that studio, and I
Mhm.
wanted to have that. And I was in these stages of my style was changing a lot at that time. I was embracing like how teenage Sissela would have wished that she could have dressed.
Mhm.
And that felt really powerful. So there's just whole lot of self acceptance going on, and also fear of the unknown. Like life was going to change again because of myself. Like
Mhm.
I was making my life change again.
But look like you were
Um,
ready for the change. On this,
oh
you were.
yeah, I was. I was ready to come home. Even though I didn't move to Denmark, I moved to Sweden, which I'm
Mhm.
born in Denmark. So, but Scandinavia, close enough. Um, I was ready to begin a new chapter. I was needing it at that time,
Mhm.
and it was definitely the right choice.
Well,
It's so
it looks
interesting.
like you were, as I said, it looked like you were ready for the huge change, and I think the image itself just speaking volumes about how you felt powerful, and
Thank you.
you're ready to take the world. Okay,
Hmm.
so let's move on. We have more.
Yeah, now I'm like the ones I can't see. Oh, that one. Okay, okay. Oh, so that was a session that I did. I actually did two setups that day. I wanted to combine. I had arrived here. It was last year. It was, I think, around fall, and like late summer, fall, and I have this amazing evening light coming in through these windows that I have over here, and it's just warm and delicious. And you can't see that obviously in the this image, but I wanted to combine the natural light that I had available with my constant lights that I use, my Nan lights. Um, but somewhere I also then ended up just trying to do very, very strong, like I wanted to just use that like the light at its full force basically. And last year, like as I said, like the other image that was on the verge of an identity crisis, that was full blown identity crisis.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, 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 yeah. It's like this a year and a half. It's not until like the past few months that I've started to come out of it.
Mhm,
And starting feeling like myself again and knowing direction.
mhm,
But I was again, I was exhausted. Like I was exhausted from everything. Like my heart was aching because I was afraid that I'd made the wrong choice in moving to Scandinavia. I was missing my friends. I was missing my freedom. Here I don't have a car. Like I live quite out in the woods. So there was definitely a lot of emotions going on at the time, but also a level of just surrender in that.
mhm.
Yeah, I recently looked at the black and white versions of those again, and I put them up there because usually I've like the color versions I haven't really loved, but
Mhm.
then the black and white ones kind of became interesting. Later, I sometimes find that when you look at work a long time after, something changes, something shifts. Maybe
Mhm.
you re-edit it. Maybe you choose to change your own perspective, or you find something else that you love. And those are that type of images. Like they've kind of grown on me.
Mhm. No, that's this one is really powerful. Like I look at this image, it's like caught my attention right on the spot. There's something kind of like, I think how I can describe this image like speaks to me because, like I'm believing you're an introvert, right?
Mhm. I
And I
am.
in that image, like I see like you are in kind of your own world, like you just analyzing everything. You just kind of like yeah, and I can identify with that image. That's why I think touch me because like it just sometimes we are in our own heads and this like
Yeah.
storm with just constantly kind of hitting you from each side. And I think in that image I see that like you're just trying to have a control over this whole thing, what it's going on.
It was
I don't know.
exhausting. I'm really enjoying hearing your perspective on these because yeah, because I'm seeing things in new ways, and I think that's one of the
Yeah,
beautiful things about what it is that we do.
yeah.
Like this is not a solo art.
No.
It's a shared
Okay.
experience. Same day.
Is
Same
it?
day. Yes. Yes. That's that session. That was that light coming in through my window. I was in that mood. Yeah. Same day. Yeah. Oh, and that's on my kitchen floor. It's like right over there.
It's right there.
Yeah.
That's an
Oh
amazing
my
shot
God.
too. I love it.
Thank
Really
you.
good.
I was incredibly inspired by the light coming through my window that day. That was everything. And I wanted to
Yeah.
touch it almost.
Oh, you did.
Hmm.
And that's one of my like really favorite shots of yours. It's really stunning. Tell me about this one. Tell me about the idea. Tell me about the concept. What was going through your mind at that moment?
It wasn't that long after. Um, it's my last portrait session, self portrait session. So it was around September, October, or something like that last year, and I had an experience of grief. I have ADHD, and it's I'm having a hard time getting a proper diagnosis here in Sweden. It takes a lot of time, even though I went through the process or was going through the process in the US. Um, and so there had been this period of time for me where I was just exhausted, like from life, from everything. And so I would walk out into the forest. Um, the mushroom season was still going.
Mhm.
There were chanterelles everywhere, and there's this when you go into the forest. That's very close to where I live, like 10 minutes walk, 15 minutes walk, right around there. And when you go into the forest, leave the main road, you're just surrounded by moss. And I would sometimes go in there, and I would just be and breathe. And I always wanted to lie down in the moss because it is so soft and it feels magical. It feels like there's all these huge boulders, and every moment it feels like there's some creature that's going to pop out from underneath one. And so there was this, like, there was one side of it was the things that I was going through at the time, the exhaustion and almost wanting to be swallowed up by the earth. And then there was the other side of it, which was taking rest within the earth. Um, and so I kind of played with the idea of setting it back in time a little bit. I have a lot of different clothes. I'm a seamstress, so I sew a lot of my own clothes, and I made that skirt many years ago. So I combined the skirt and the shirt to make it feel almost like the end of, like the turn of the century, um, previous century, and kind of giving it that almost folklore vibe to it. But ultimately, wanting to be swallowed up
Mhm.
whole or just be covered in moss, which I later did that day.
Okay. Well, there are a bunch of different images, right, from that
Yeah.
session which you posted.
Yeah.
But this one was, this very interesting for me from all sorts of different perspectives, emotional, and then the concept itself. Like it seems like everything works together. But I think what I really like about it is like the your face expression on this one. I don't know. It seems like you are in this own world.
I'm good at that. I'm good at being in my own world. I've been told that I do it too much.
No, no. Well, that's good. I think we all living in our own world, right? But we creating it,
Mm.
and I think you can create this very meaningful places where bring something magical to your life for sure.
Thank you. Oh, this
Okay.
was fun. I didn't. I was terrified when you said we were going to look at my self portraits, but I'm like, okay, this is actually kind of fun. I like that.
You know what? That was my main goal, to be honest with you. And we'll jump in a second. Even we are already within an hour, but we'll still jump in
What?
into
Yeah. How long have we been talking for?
for an hour.
Oh my god, I love that.
So I still want to jump into your other work,
Okay.
the work you're doing with people. But before we go there, let's kind of talk a little bit more about those self portraits because those are the ones which really intrigued me. And you mentioned that you've stopped doing this for a while. So my question
Mhm.
to you is, when is the next one?
I
Are
feel
you?
it coming up soon. I've been thinking about it lately. I have been in a period of time where I haven't picked up my camera
Mhm.
or opened Photoshop or anything like that. I've been trying to get back to it, but I've had to recognize that I've suffered massively from burnout. These past 10 years have been really hard on my nervous system. And so coming back here, having to rebuild everything again, but having enough to actually give myself a break have been tremendous, to the point now where I'm beginning to get inspired again.
Yeah.
And who knows? I mean, it's probably not going to be long. I just don't know what I'm going to do yet.
Perfect. Okay, so let's jump into your portraiture. I picked some images. I would love to kind of talk about them as well. Give me 1 second.
This is really fun.
I hope.
I never look at my work this way.
No.
Oh.
So the reason I picked some of those images, and we're going to jump through, different ones. But as you know, I absolutely love headshot photography, and the face expressions and all this stuff is something that always talks to me. So I pick a bunch of different shots, but I focus mostly on the headshots. And I want to talk about some of those images, the concepts. As I said, they show a lot of emotions. So I want to hear kind of the backstory of those.
Oh goodness, these specifically I did last year. And the funny that you should bring those up, because you remember when I told you I recently re-edited a bunch of images from a session, or like re-edited a bunch more. It's from that session, where I could see the change in myself and my editing style just from being in a better place. But these hold so much meaning to me in so many different layers. One of them being that they represent the type of work that I am the most passionate about, where I am with a person who allow themselves to release. Now, the second aspect of that is that he's a Danish actor. His name is Søren Ørnholt, and he is the voice of my childhood. He created this children's show, and everyone in Denmark know about it. And it's later had like different actors playing the main character, but his voice is what has built this. And he's done a ton of different things. He's a really accomplished Danish actor, and we had followed each other for a while on social media. And one day he commented on one of my images, and I was like, Søren, I think I should photograph you. And he's like, it's funny you should mention it. I've been thinking the same thing. So we went on a call together, and like, go away. Sorry, flies. It's season. But it was so interesting meeting this guy whom I've only seen on like in movies and theater and all these different things, and just seeing who he was. And he's incredibly kind and humble and very soft spoken. And he has this character. He has two characters. He has two clowns that he also uses. One of them is Chico. That's that one. And then he has a hospital clown. And he didn't want to use the hospital clown for these images, because that's for the special ones, only for them. But I knew that I wanted to capture these aspects of him: the performer, the clown, the artist, and then I wanted to capture the human. And so I came up with the idea of and I don't know where it came from. It was just like this vibe of wanting to do it on the beach with this backdrop, made by Ashley Simmons. And yeah, it worked out brilliantly. And he was so fun to photograph. I actually just made a blog post about it, so it's so funny you're bringing them up.
So those are from the same sessions, right? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, I love doing dirty drops, but doing them in nature. because there's something about cutting out this almost studio and then
Mhm.
placing it in nature. It creates a multi-dimensional story
Mhm.
um, that I find utterly fascinating. So I do that a lot.
So that's
Mm.
from the same shoot.
Yeah, same guy. It's not insane. And he was like he told me when I showed them to him, he was like, I love them. They're really difficult to look at for me, because he was recognizing the fact that they were exposing parts of himself that he doesn't necessarily want to see that way.
Mhm.
But he also found them utterly beautiful. I always have a fascination. Like I want people to smush their face. Like
Mhm.
I don't know why I love it. It's I think it's this small teeny tiny rebellion against the pretty picture, the
Mhm.
smooth skin perfection. Like, we're humans and we get wrinkles, and our skin changes, and everything changes, and I feel like pushing on that kind
Mhm.
of makes it more. I don't like pretty pictures anymore, not the same way anyway. I
They
want to
are
push the
pretty.
boundaries a little bit.
You know, they
They
are pretty
are, but they're
on
not
own
like
way.
pretty for the sake of pretty.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they're pretty on their own way, right? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump into this more mystical world of yours.
Haha, my water. Oh, that was fun. It's a pool session. I love doing water portraits in different bodies of water. There's not a lot of thought to that, other than we later had her dive in fully and I took underwater images of her. But she had a bunch of pearls. We glued them to her face. It was pretty with
Mhm.
the water. That was a pretty picture. But again, I wanted to then go beyond that and kind of see, okay, this could easily be like a glamour shot or a classical beauty shot, but what if you took that concept and twisted it and had her interact more, and then she has these beautiful blue eyes that just played so well with the water. I also love negative space. Like, I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan of negative space, so I
Mhm.
wanted the composition to reflect that.
Yeah. So I have a kind of personal question. Maybe not
Because we
personal.
haven't gotten personal at all during
Yes.
this interview.
So I'm fascinated with water.
Yeah.
And so that's why also I brought that image. And the reason is because water has something very mysterious, right?
Mm.
So how you well, because you bringing something very essential, I think, in that picture, but the water itself as a kind of backdrop in that image
Yeah.
has this like very, very deep meaning. um so I don't even know where I'm going with these questions, but because I've seen some of other work you've done with water, there's a lot of water. Is there any specific meaning behind it, or you just like working in that environment, or there is something deeper into this whole water thing?
I mean, there's always something deeper, isn't there?
Mhm. That's why I'm asking, because like
Yeah,
I.
yeah. Water for me, I've always been drawn to it. Like,
Mhm.
I'm a water sign, I'm a Pisces, but I also have always, when I needed calm,
Mhm.
and like how other people go out and like barefoot and root themselves in soil, I go in the water and I stand in the water, and I will always feel calm around water.
Mhm.
No matter, like even when it's the waves are insane and I'm close to being swept away, like that's actually
Mhm.
an element of it. um Water is the key element.
Mhm.
It can kill us in an instant. It gives us life. It brings peace and calm and prosperity, and take it away and you have nothing.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, though I also like deserts, so there is that.
Yeah, but But the reason I'm asking also, well, I can share a little bit my personal story, and that's why I've been so drawn into your images, especially the water ones, because like there's a bunch of more which have that. But water kind of helped me heal after my kind of like crisis in life, because I swim a lot, and
Oh,
just kind of
good.
environment where I can get in and just kind of like turn off and then
Mm.
just be in the. And then when I saw this light kind of bouncing off the surface, that's what heals me, honestly. Like I go to the swimming pool and they have this like big wall of like the windows are on the side, and the light always kind of goes to the side, and when you swim you see this like light kind of striking through. And that was like every morning, like literally for years I've been just like going, because that was my kind of healing, I would say therapy, where I could just go for an hour, just swim and just kind of like completely turn off myself from the world. So when I
Yeah.
saw those images, yeah, it's just like it brings me that feeling. So that's why I kind of like connect personally on this, because it was just something which really helped me. um,
Isn't that incredible though? Like how different images can hold different meanings for someone. I would never have guessed for
mhm.
you to have that connotation with that image.
Yeah,
But yet here we are. I think
yeah.
that's
Well, that's
really
that.
cool.
Yeah, I think that's what we also discussed, right? That like we
Yeah.
also look for images through our own experiences.
Yeah.
um, and yeah, it's just kind of amazing how and this is exactly also what you said. Everyone is looking at them differently, and everyone kind of like brings own things from it, right? And that image like really
Exactly.
speaks to me, and that kind of like the way she is even like laying in the water, feeling like free, like weightless. This is exactly how I felt. Well, I still, because I still swim, so it's just kind of, it's
Good.
still ongoing. But the kind of feeling from that image is just like me going to the water, so it's just like very personal.
I love that. That
Okay.
makes me happy to hear. Ah. Oh, I'm so happy you chose that. Seriously, you're choosing some of my favorites here because, like, this is part of a series of images that I created in 2020 outside on a big velvet backdrop with artificial light mixed with natural light, and this is the first time I was doing that, and it changed my entire work. It changed my entire
Mhm.
approach to photography.
Can you tell me when did
Create
you shoot that?
2020. I think
Officially.
it was June or July 2020.
Hmm.
And it was outside because social distancing.
Yes.
Um, and it's an amazing model that I work with, Jacqueline. I worked with her multiple times, um, and this was the first time I worked with her, and she was so willing to go there, and that made me thrilled because she was actually projecting so many of my own emotions at that time. Um, they are not some of the work that I've received the most credit for, but it's some of the work that I love the most because it holds this whole like Madonna whore complex thing that are so prevalent in society. And it holds so much emotion and sensitivity, and Jacqueline was willing to go there with me, which again, trust. She just trusted me to do this. Like I was a total stranger at that point because
Mhm.
we were just like playing around. This wasn't a paid session. This was us needing creativity after heavy months of COVID and not being able to create. It's in my backyard.
Hmm. It's amazing.
Oh,
When we
thank
finish
you.
this interview, I'll show you something, because that's gonna kind of, well, blows your mind. But I don't
Okay.
want to steal the attention from you. But I'll show you
Oh my
something.
goodness. This is like one of my favorite interviews ever. Ah, so that's Leanne. I worked with her before as well. She's also a model. She has alopecia and is a spokesperson for women with alopecia.
I
Um,
work with them here too in Calgary.
oh, I love that. I've worked with a few, and some of the stories are just incredible because so much of our identity sits in our hair. And I've known Leanne while she had hair. She was one of the first people I worked with when I came to the US and when I wanted to create but wasn't able to work before I had my
Mhm.
work permit. Um, And this was one of the last sessions that I did in my studio in the US, so it was kind of full circle. And I wanted her, like, usually she wears wigs and all these different things, but I wanted to photograph her like that. And she's like, I work with very few models for creative projects. Like I can't just pick a model. Like I have to feel a connection to them, and an alignment. And Leanne became one of my good friends throughout my years in the US. So she was also willing to go there with me.
Wow.
Which was so meaningful.
That creating image like this, it requires a lot of trust. I cannot even imagine, because like I know how difficult that is for women with this condition to open up and just kind of work with you. Yeah,
she's the coolest. Like seriously, she's such. Oh yeah. Oh, Slasha. She is a model who is at the agency that I'm also connected to in New York. And we met at a casting for Project Runway. Totally random. And we started talking and decided to grab lunch. And she's also this type of person who just surrenders and releases. She's teeny tiny. Like teeny tiny. But she has so much power and so much presence, and all these images that you're seeing that are from the later periods of my time in the US are with visualizations of where my work was heading and still is heading, with the soulfulness and the connection and the depth. Yeah, that's one of my favorite series. You're choosing all my favorite. Oh yes, you're choosing all my favorite work. My first ever water portrait. This is old. I think this was before I left for the US. I think this was in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. But and it was this amazing model. And we went out to a forest close by and a lake close by to where I grew up. And then she was just, yeah, sure. Let's go in. Let's go in. It's not that big, and it's kind of muddy. But I think that was the time I discovered the type of work that I love to do the most. Not just water, but like that intensity. The question, is she dead or is she staring me down? I like the mind going a little like bleh. Like I want people to be confronted. And she did that. And she did that with me.
I think also what is so amazing about his image, as you said, but like that, it's kind of hit me now, that this image makes your brain really kind of like fight with it a little bit. I don't know if you have the same feeling, but it's a stunning image, but it's just like because it's upside down, and the way she's looking at the camera, the connection you have, those little elements, but it's it seems like everything kind of works so perfectly in that shot. But you get your brain kind of like spin a little bit in a positive way, just so.
Yeah. It's also a representation of my favorite color palette. Like if you look at that one and then the one you showed before, they're the same color palette.
Yeah.
More or less. That is colors that I'm always drawn to.
Okay. So tell me, well, because I don't know, based on my own experience, like I know colors are the most tricky things ever, especially for a photographer, because this is something which you develop. It's not like, oh, I like these colors, out of the blue. Like they develop over the time.
Yeah.
So how did you get to this kind of point where, okay, this is what because it's also colors comes with feelings, right? Like you can associate those colors with some emotions, some feelings. How long did it take you to get there, to kind of see, okay, this is the palette I'm in love with? Or is it also changing with time? Or is there
it is changing.
Yeah,
like it is always changing, but there That's when it happened.
All right. Yeah.
It was seeing this and seeing what we could create together that day that kind of, I wouldn't call it fixed because I'm not fixed in my editing, my color toning, but it made me realize how much I love warm, deep earth tones. And even in some of my colder images, you see those warmer tones. I like playing with contrast, or like I either go contrast or I go monochromatic.
Mhm.
But I don't go heavy contrast. I go like, yeah, I want the colors to speak together, but I don't want them to take over. Um, and I want all of my images to feel like they're a little bit out of date in the sense that they don't really belong in this time.
Mhm.
Um, I've I sometimes feel like I'm born in the, like I've always felt like I was born in the wrong century, and even though today I'm like, yeah, there's some medical progress and female like status and all these different things that are kind of nice here, I guess. But I've always been drawn to the aesthetic of old. So those colors have been pulling through. I mean, I think all of us as photographers have had a period of time where we hypersaturated everything, and I
Yes.
had that. I had that.
Yes.
But now I'm
Well,
pretty
it seems like
consistent
we're
with
going
my
for
colors.
similar stages, right? I 100%
Yeah,
agree with you. You just like this whole development, being a photographer.
yeah.
It seems like I'm not saying it's the same, but it's similar. Like, we do things on the same kind of path, and then you just kind of like reaching certain things. Okay, this
I
is
think
mine.
it's
This
how
is
the
what I
human
do.
brain work. Like, oh,
Mhm.
sorry, I interrupt. I just get excited
No,
about this. Um, I think our brain works like that. And I think in order to figure out what it is that we like, we have to experiment and we have to push it and we have to do these different things. But we all make the same errors to begin with, which is hilarious when you think about it.
yeah.
But yeah,
So I
I
have a
love it.
couple more questions for you, and
Okay.
then we're gonna probably wrap it up because, yeah, we will
We're
do it
going
again.
on.
We can go forever, I feel.
Yeah,
Please
definitely.
tell me how over the time your work has changed since you kind of
Mm.
pick up the camera, you did your first photo shoot. And I'm not saying to go into the details, but
No,
how
no, no, no,
you,
no, no.
when you look kind of back, how your work evolved, and what you're paying more attention to, and how you see, like the direction which you were going, your path you're on, how this whole
Yeah.
thing kind of like has changed.
It's really funny because when I started out, and I started out pretty strongly, I had someone who was helping me, guiding me.
Mhm.
So I got an early introduction into studio lighting and became pretty strong at that pretty quickly. So from the get go, I had an aesthetic that are kind of like what it is today, but like now with the knowledge, more
Mhm.
knowledge. I was more daring when I started out, and to do things that was a little weird or felt off or pushed the boundaries, things like that. And then I came to the US and I had to work as a photographer and I had to build a business and I had to attract clients, and my work started changing to become more palatable,
Mhm.
and over edited skin, all those different things.
Yeah.
And I hated that. Um, and then I changed again because I was hating that. So I've been deconstructing my style for a while now, like,
Mhm.
and kind of bringing it back to what it actually was in the beginning
Mhm.
when I already knew. Because my aesthetic didn't happen with photography; it happened with painting. It
Mhm.
happened with reading. It happened sketching, being in the forest. It happened with music, like. But I'd already been a creative for so long that I already knew what I liked and what I
Mhm.
was drawn to. So that was just a matter of implementing it into photography. And then I lost that track of that. And now I'm finding my way back to a more refined version of the beginning,
Mhm.
which is really fun.
So now let's kind of go into like a little bit more difficult question. Combining artistry and your kind of like visions and your creativity, and your kind of passion for certain things, like when it comes to, like, creating specific images and business. Because I kind of, also my personal experience, sometimes those things, they don't align, right? You have
Mm.
kind of your own way of doing things, and you want to push things different direction, and then you have the business where it has to push you kind of completely different direction, and we have to kind of like find a balance there. So my question to you is, how you finding the balance between kind of pushing things towards what you like, towards what the clients want? I know you said you're listening to the client, but I know sometimes, I'm guessing we're getting this weird kind of requests, or, the clients want to create something which is theirs, not yours. But you have to put your creativity into, because they came to you, right? So it has to be touch of you. Your ingredients have to be there.
It is so funny you say that, because I refuse to conform,
Okay.
which means that it's been a long time since I've had a client not telling me to do my thing.
Hmm.
I think it is 4 years ago, since 3 or 4 years since the last time I had a client who wanted a specific thing that I didn't usually offer. And that never goes well. Like,
Hmm.
not for me anyway, because I have such a strong sense of my work and who I am and the people that I attract, the works that I put out there, all these different things, that now I'm surprised if I would get someone like that. So the majority of the time when people come to me, they tell me, "I just want you to do your thing." Because
Hmm.
I refuse. I didn't become a self-employed business owner to compromise.
Hmm.
Not on the things that I want in life. And I want to work with people who want to be creative and who wants to have fun and do something entirely different. So you will never see a portrait that I've created that is a traditional headshot in front of a white background, because I don't do
Hmm.
that. Then there's other photographers. And so that's the thing. Like, if you want that, then I'm not the photographer for you.
Hmm.
And that's okay. There's so much work for all of us. Like, if we just, like, we don't have to pedal for the things that we don't necessarily want to do.
Absolutely. So that leads me to my, not final question, but final kind of advice I would like to get from you.
Okay.
So let's say there are photographers who are starting off. They
Mm,
want to become a photographer,
yes.
um, and they just debating, should I do that? I don't know. It's kind of confusing if this is the right path for me, and they're on the edge. What advice you would give them as a photographer, as established as you, with all the
Depends on two
experiences?
things.
Go
There's
for it.
two that I need some clarifying first.
Mhm.
Are they an artist or are they a business person? Are they going into photography because they want to earn money doing photography? Or are they going into photography because they have to create art?
Yeah, I think a lot of people asking that themselves. I bet
Yeah.
money, right?
It's a
Uh,
very important question to ask
yes.
yourself. And I tell you, if you are a person who loves photography, who has a knack for business, and find that that might be a really good way to be self employed, then you are standing really strong. Like
Mhm.
because you then will automatically become curious about business and how to run it. And those people are usually the ones who does the best, because they are more willing to do the weddings, do the events, do the
Mhm.
family sessions, do the things that I personally don't get much out of. But that's
Mhm.
because they remove their personal enjoyment from it.
Mhm.
If you are an artist, if you're already a photographer and you love what you do, ask yourself, how would you feel if you stopped loving what you did and still had to do it?
Mhm.
Because you have to keep creating. Even when you are completely burned out and you're relying on your income from photography, then you still have to keep doing it. And you might not love it anymore because it's no longer the thing that feeds you. It might be just be the thing that actually physically feeds you.
Mhm.
Um, if you're willing to do that, If you're breathing, living, everything is about photography, then yes, go for it. And then I would say become a business person.
Mm.
Learn, educate yourself, learn business management, because you're going to be a photographer 20% of the time, if even. The rest of the time, you're going to be a business
Mm.
person, and you're going to be a social media marketer. You're going to be a bookkeeper. You're going to be a customer
It's
service
all of it.
manager.
Yeah.
It's all of it. And those are the, like, that's going to take the most amount of your time. So you have to decide for yourself whether or not that will kill your creativity
Mm.
or if it'll fuel you. Because artists often don't make great business people. We just don't. We feel too much. I'm a horrible business person. I run my business on emotions. Um, I mean, I made a living off it also because
Yeah.
I actually find business
But you know
incredibly
exactly what you're
interesting.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think when we're getting into the photo shoot, you don't think how much money I'm going to make out of this person. It's just kind of completely opposite, right? Like,
yeah.
it's, yeah.
Though I will say, don't undercharge either. I mean, don't charge before you're ready. That's
Mhm.
really freaking important. Like, don't charge before you're ready. Be strong in what you do before. Know your shit before you do, because if you charge, like, let's say you charge $2,500 straight off the bat and you have no customer experience,
Gonna kill you.
yeah, you are putting too much on the line, and you risk losing your reputation, and your reputation is everything.
Yeah. But
So
then the question is,
yeah,
when you're ready, right? That's another question. Because I
yeah,
think
oh
we
yeah,
could go on another, like,
yeah,
2-hour conversation on that. Because, like,
yeah.
you just never know. Because especially, I don't know how you look at your work, but I think sometimes, like, photographers, they really look hard on their own work, and they,
Mm,
like, they're never happy. And even if, the world telling, like, you're good, like, you're doing some stunning
yeah.
work, you're still like, I don't know,
Are
I
you
could
sure
change
about
this,
that?
I could, yeah. I could change this, I could change that, I could improve this, my retouching is not, the list goes on and on,
Yeah.
right? But
I still, seriously, I like, yeah, I've been a professional photographer for 15 years, 12,
mhm,
15, a long time. And I still get those feelings.
yeah.
Like, but the difference is that I have the skill set and knowledge to back up my insecurity. I'm
Mhm.
never alone in this. Like, I always have everything that I've learned and my business acumen, and like, I always recommend people to speak with other photographers that are where you want to be.
Yeah.
Learn from others, educate yourself, find educators that resonate with you. Don't do it alone, because we can't. Like, being self-employed is lonely as it is, so we need others, and we need a community,
Yeah.
and we're so much stronger for it. And the biggest investment you can make in your business is not your gear, it's education.
Yeah.
Like, I built a business on an old Canon 5D Mark II for, like, it was already too old when I bought it. Like, it was going out of production.
But can you
It's
tell right
not.
away, like, there's some people just, they're all about the gear. Like, I have
Oh
this
god,
fellow
yes.
photographers who, like, the
Yeah,
best top shelves stuff,
fuck the
constantly
gear.
upgrading. Yeah, exactly. Listen, that was
The
a
gear doesn't
pleasure
matter.
talking to you. I think we should kind of, because I think we could go for on, but I
Yeah, oh my god, an hour and a
definitely,
half.
but I think that, let's do this part one, and we
Yeah,
could jump in back into the conversation, because I think we just scratched the surface about this stuff we want to talk about. But
absolutely.
I
We
was,
need a whole business segment. Like, that's
yeah, hundred
yeah,
percent, 100%.
yeah.
And I
I'm all
know
for
this
it.
is something that a lot of us struggling with, right? Like, I
Yeah,
see that constantly, that there are some amazing artists, but selling and knowing their own worth is the biggest challenge for them. And I
yeah.
think, I don't know, there's a lot of things to unpack here, but yeah, I think there's a lot of us who, we focus way too much on the creativity and artistry, and like, and selling our own stuff and putting value on it. That's what it's the most difficult part.
Oh yeah, that
Yes.
part. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not having hobbies outside of photography because my hobby became my business.
It's your life,
We need hobbies.
right?
It's your
It's
life.
it's
You
your life.
live, breathe,
Exactly.
sleep.
You
Like
sleep, dream,
you're
everything you
never
eat, you
off.
think. Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
glue it to your body like for life.
Yeah. The way you think too. But I
Yeah.
will say, becoming a photographer has enabled me to see the world in the most amazing way. Like seeing light and seeing how like light filters through leaves or how it hits someone's face as they're sitting and eating or something like that. I think photography has enriched my senses in a way that I can't describe.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more with you on that.
It's so cool.
Yes. Okay, so let's finish this. That
Okay,
was absolutely pleasure chatting with you. I
you too.
will add links into your social media to your website. Whoever was watching this, please check Sissela website, social media. You know, there's more amazing, incredible work. I know everyone who will dive into your world will be amazed. So thank you so much for this extremely meaningful and open conversation we had. As I said, I would love to invite you back and then do another segment, and we can talk. Well, there's endless topics we could touch.
I'll do it. I'll do
But
it.
yeah, thank you again. And yeah, we'll be looking forward to those self portraits. That's what I want to see. So make a promise
I will.
online, so then I know I can
Oh
I can
God.
keep you accountable.
I will, I guess.
Perfect.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, thank you everyone for watching, and thank you for the time and putting this amazing conversation.